Last week, Bob gave us a peek into the hellish world of Junji Ito's horror classics with the dystopian take on a superstar-obsessed society in Hellstar Remina. Today, we'll be taking a look at Junji Ito's first officially published work, Tomie. Ito released Tomie as a submission for a contest run in the shoujo manga magazine Monthly Halloween. The contest itself was created in the name of another legendary horror mangaka, Kazuo Umezu. Umezu is most well known for his work The Drifting Classroom, not to be confused with Ito's 2013 manga The Dissolving Classroom. He is considered a god amongst horror mangaka, even inspiring a young Junji Ito. He would go on to be one of the judges in the very contest that Ito published the original Tomie one-shot in. Ito would continue to publish in this magazine for a considerable chunk of his career in manga. To hear that there was a shoujo magazine entirely dedicated to horror stories is quite a reveal to me, and I can't imagine you'd be catching series like Fruits Basket or Ouran High School Host Club in such a place. Typically, shoujo manga is aimed towards younger girls, and usually, but certainly not always, features a softer art style and more emotional or romantic plot lines. Think of Sailor Moon as an example. Monthly Halloween, on the other hand, was the home to a great number of horrific tales created by multiple well-known horror mangaka. I was already interested in diving into some popular shoujo manga before, just to see the contrast to the many shonen I've read, but to learn that such a variety exists in shoujo as well has only piqued my interest more. Tomie is another short story among many others from Ito's extensive and honestly kind of intimidating back catalog. He's released a great number of short manga over the years, some all original stories, and others are adaptations of other authors' works, like Frankenstein and No Longer Human. Rather than having a long-running narrative, as seen in manga like One Piece, he chooses to create short, sometimes one-chapter releases, and because of this, he packs an almost uncomfortable amount of detail and suspenseful page turns in each release. There are 3 parts to Tomie, in addition to the original one-shot. There's Tomie Part 1, Part 2, and Tomie Again, and it's about 20 chapters in total. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the first chapter in the first part, the beginning of many unfortunate encounters with Tomie, a girl who might as well be a curse to all men she comes across. The closer they get to Tomie, the more manic and dangerous they become. She's fully aware of the effect she has on men, and often takes advantage of it for her own amusement. But oddly enough, the very first thing we learn about her on the first page of the manga is that she's dead, her body found in pieces. Her death leaves her teacher and other classmates confused and scared, as there's no leads on any potential suspects. While discussing the murder in class just a day after her funeral, a familiar but unexpected face approaches and enters the classroom. It's none other than the recently deceased Tomie herself. If the class wasn't in hysterics before, they definitely are now. She just comes back to school the day after her funeral as if she didn't just get brutally murdered. Men within a 25-mile radius of her immediately start simping hard, but she has her eyes set on her teacher. As she tries to blackmail him into marrying her, some other students overhear their conversation and eventually confront them. One in particular gets very aggressive with Tomie and the teacher, and accidentally pushes her off a small cliff, ending her life for the second time in just one chapter. Like all normal people would do, the class immediately starts plotting how they're going to get rid of the body, and, of course, they decide on dismembering her yet again, because why wouldn't they? In equal parts for each of the 42 students in the class to dispose of. This doesn't sit well with a few of the students, however, and they attempt to reach the police to tell them of the gruesome events that just transpired. The students give chase and eventually catch up to them, and as tensions rise, another violent clash breaks out between classmates. Yet again, out of nowhere, Tomie appears from the shadows to break up the action. Who does this bitch think she is, Joseph Joestar? The seemingly immortal Tomie would drive the teacher to insanity, and a few students even committed suicide, others moved away. These events conclude the first chapter of Part 1. Chapters 2 through 4 deal with a girl named Tsukiko Izumi who quickly makes an enemy of Tomie, while chapters 5 and 6 are detached stories where unsuspecting people encounter Tomie in very unorthodox settings, like a frigid mountaintop or the basin of a waterfall. I really enjoyed the episodic nature of these stories, and it seemed greatly rooted in various Japanese urban legends, like the slit-mouthed woman or teke teke. Like in Hellstar Remina, there seems to be some commentary about how men can become unhealthily obsessed with women they don't even know, some even resorting to violent methods in order to get the attention of their idol. This is also explored in the 1997 psychological thriller Perfect Blue, a film about a newly famous pop star and her dealings with a manipulative fanbase and a stalker who has an unhealthy obsession with her. But enough about that, we're definitely going to be doing a whole video about Perfect Blue in the future. At the same time, Tomie is a bit of a diversion from that social commentary. As I said earlier, while the men around her are obsessive and fight over her, she manipulates them to the point of insanity just for fun. For Ito's first work, the art is much better than I'd expected. It has that more realistic 1980s approach to character design, and while there's a lot of unimportant characters thrown in the mix, they still often stand out from the others. Ito's an absolute master at building suspense and delivering with horrific or extremely graphic reveals. Tomie has many of them, and some left me unexpectedly disturbed. There's some seriously frightening panels throughout this manga. Tomie is a genuinely scary enigma, and the more you learn about her origins, the more unsettling the story becomes. I've only read the first part, so I'm excited to see how the later iterations from more experienced Ito make this story unfold. And there's also some live-action adaptations that honestly don't look too great, but it might be fun to check them out someday. Viz has released Tomie in its entirety in omnibus format here in North America, but there are scans floating around online. But if you read it online, you're probably going to have to deal with the pages being mirrored and text being left to right. It was honestly more annoying than I thought it would be. It's just so obvious that they flipped the page. I mean, even Tomie's mole is on the wrong side. Anyways, that's about it for Tomie Part 1. I'll be taking a look at the other two parts some other time, but I wanted to take a dive into Junji Ito's first published work, and I was not disappointed. If you liked this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. I'm having a lot of fun editing these videos, so expect more fun manga videos from Bob and I in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'm out.